Hey everybody, it's Monday. There will be a video today. Obviously, there will not be a video tomorrow. I am going to participate in the FairTube Dead Upload Day. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, FairTube, remember that group online that you guys encouraged me to join? We actually took a little vote on it, like an informal thing about should I do this or not? And you guys convinced me, so I joined it, and I've been following. They're asking everybody to not upload a video on Tuesday because of their issues with the lack of transparency surrounding YouTube's changes based on a settlement with the FTC surrounding COPPA, the Child Online Protection and Privacy Act, or Privacy Protection Act, or something like that. Anyway, it's an American law. Absolutely nothing wrong with trying to protect kids online. Everybody's in favor of that. Totally wrong that there's no clear rules about what constitutes content for children. I do not make content for children. This does not affect me. But sometimes you got to do stuff that doesn't affect you to support other people's initiatives, so that when you have a cause you want help with, you've paid it forward, right? I feel strongly about that. So that's why there won't be a video tomorrow. And in honor of Frozen 2 coming out this weekend, I haven't seen it yet because we're paying for some vet bills right now, but I hear it's wonderful. But in honor of Frozen, the Patreon jingle for today is going to be to Let It Go, because you guys seem to love that soaring Idina Menzel stuff. So here we go. Patreon, Patreon, become a patron today. Patreon, Patreon, send some money my way. I don't care if you hate this song. No matter what I sing, somebody thinks it is so wrong. Patreon.com/LeannaK. There you go. Let it go, patron. All right. We're 2.5 minutes in and we haven't got to the topic, which is quite a naughty subject. Not like the not naughty like porn. That would be fun to talk about. This is a complex thing. This Game Awards Hideo Kojima appearance of impropriety scandal. And I hope everybody hears me out on this and tries to watch to the end, because I'm actually a bit concerned, just a bit, but that this controversy could do some harm if it doesn't resolve in a proper or ethical way, ironically enough. Now, to be clear, I think that the people who have concerns about the appearance of impropriety here, it's totally valid to have concerns. I just think there's a lot of detail provided here, and I think that the Game Awards are actually being nicely transparent on this issue. And I think that the media coverage is not doing enough to sort of educate people on whether or not there is a lingering appearance of impropriety here. Of course, appearance of impropriety is something that is, and I know it when I see it kind of thing. There's no firm rules about what constitutes an appearance of impropriety. It's much easier when we're dealing with things like politics, right? Somebody seems too cozy to people they shouldn't be cozy with, right? So, but of course, you know, in Texas, for instance, being cozy with big oil and the gun lobby, nobody thinks that's an appearance of impropriety in Texas. Somebody in New York State might think very differently. Too bought and paid for kind of thing. Appearance of impropriety is a really, really tricky thing. Other things are more cut and dried. Does somebody seem to have an inappropriate relationship with a junior staffer? That is easier to determine. You shouldn't be doing that because it actually harms not just, you know, the executive's reputation, but the junior staffer's ability to be seen on their merits. These are difficult things to determine. and everybody's, what it appears like to them is filtered through their own personal prism and their own personal understanding of how these bodies work. So what I'm going to try to do here is express my awareness of things like this, offer my opinion in hopes that it will inform yours. You know, I don't need you to agree with me. I just want you to hear me out. So please try to watch this whole video if you can at all. I'd really appreciate it. And please, like, agree and disagree with me and each other respectfully on this, because the negativity is... I ask you to please be cool. But please do not engage in appearance of impropriety with the way you debate appearance of impropriety, ironically enough. So what's going on here for people that don't know? Well, Death Stranding picked up 9 nominations at the Game Awards, including Game of the Year. I think it's called Game of the Year. Yeah, Game of the Year. So here we are. I'll jump over to it. I have it right here. Oh, I just got to get it lined up so you can see my mug as well. Here we go. So Game of the Year: Control, Death Stranding, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Those are the games of the year. And then there's a lot of repetition in other... Oh, The Outer Worlds is down here too. Jeez. God. Ads. Bleeding cool. Really. Oh my God. But The Outer Worlds is also nominated for Game of the Year. So, ironically, like 3 games that you have seen on my Twitch channel have been nominated for Game of the Year. That's pretty cool. Shows I have good taste. Or you guys have good taste, because you are the guys that say, yeah, we want to see it. Resident Evil 2 is a remake. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like, okay, I don't know much about Control. Maybe I should check that one out. But this is what these awards do. I don't know this. This is up alongside games I like. Maybe I should try this game. These are marketing opportunities for games, preferably smaller games that don't have massive marketing budgets behind them, though like Destiny 2 is on here for best ongoing game, and Call of Duty also appears on the list. The appearance of Activision and Nintendo games, as well as Xbox games, is very important when we get into what the controversy is. And so I decided to use the Kotaku coverage of it, because I think that's very ironic. Death Stranding's nominations at the Game Awards can't help but raise questions. That's a mealy-mouthed title. What I would have gone with of accusations of impropriety surround Death Stranding's nominations at the Game Awards. Why? Well, that's allegedly the story. I think they didn't go that far because there's not much there when you really drill down. The Game Awards is the largest video game awards ceremony of the year, in large part because it's full of new game announcements, but the industry takes the awards seriously as well. Why? Well, because it's the largest video games awards ceremony of the year. I want to point out that this isn't something that the game makers came together and decided to organize. One guy, Jeff, I think his last name's pronounced Keighley, Jeff Keighley, decided to do it. Now, Jeff Keighley, you may better know as the Dorito Pope, which I think is part of the reason for this controversy. He's an easy guy to beat on when it comes to perhaps inappropriate relationships with inappropriate entities. And the Game Awards is filled with advertising and all that stuff. This does not make it strange. With in terms of premier award shows, the Oscars and the Emmys are all fat with corporate sponsorships. Where do you think those gift bags, those loot bags, come from on the red carpets at those things? They take out, movie makers and Emmy and TV makers take out ads in Variety for your consideration. These things are big money because they're big prestige. Now, having worked on some award shows, including the Much Music Video Awards, it's nice to win awards. Some awards are worth more than others. But I have some idea about how much involvement a producer and host of an award show, how involved they are in the actual tallying of the awards. I've also hosted award shows like the Aurora Awards, the Pre-Aurora Awards, which is a literary awards up here in Canada. I've also been nominated for an Aurora Award, not in the same year. But I have some idea of how these sorts of things work. I was also involved hosting presenting. I don't think I hosted ever. I presented at the Constellation Awards, which is kind of a sci-fi thing. So I have some experience with this stuff. So how much influence, how much even awareness does a host or producer have with the actual voting process? None. None of the awards I produced or hosted was I at all involved or consulted on the process. Now, I did not run those awards as well, but even the people who tend to produce the ceremonies have very little to do with the nomination and voting of the awards. Why? It's just too much for a single human being to do. And this is very important because the scandal here that Kotaku is amplifying is the idea that Jeff Keighley's relationship with Hideo Kojima, the creator and creative director of Death Stranding, is just too close, and it has influenced the nominations and perhaps the voting. Jeff Keighley has responded, I think, quite well. Okay. He said, I respect and appreciate the concern. It's down here. Keighley told Kotaku via email when asked about this appearance of conflict. This is why we have the FAQ right at the top of the website to make the process clear. It's also why I don't vote on the nominees or winners. In my role as show producer, I work closely with game publishers and developers on a number of levels, so I lead the judging to media outlets that provide a wide critical assessment. So there we go. He has nothing to do with the vote. Now, this is when we're like, do we believe Jeff Keighley? I am inclined to, because the FAQ on the Game Awards has been there for a long time. So, and because it's almost impossible to coordinate the voting and produce a show of that magnitude and host it, it would probably be smarter for the show's long-term longevity if he did get a revolving host because of things like this. But if he wants to do it, I don't see that he's doing anything wrong here. But why would people possibly disagree with me? Because I don't buy that, they've talked on Twitter and he's been a presenter, he's been brought on stage at things involving the Game Awards. Hideo Kojima is a titan of video games. I've tweeted at Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima has liked some of my tweets. That doesn't mean I know him personally, okay? But Jeff Keighley is in the game. He is in Death Stranding. He's the Ludens fan, which is like it's a small character. He's this rabid fan of this skull-faced astronaut who's the Kojima Productions mascot. It's kind of tee-hee-hee. Not a major part of the game at all, but this idea that he is in the game, it looks bad. See, I'm not sure I agree, because there is so much transparency about how these awards work. It only looks bad if he'd be presenting an award to himself, which he won't be. He's a bit player in this game. It only looks bad if he's involved with the vote. We know he's not. Okay, I take him at his word just because this has been the way the Game Awards have worked for as long as I've been aware of it. If you're wondering, as Kotaku says here, the Game Awards is structured as a mix between critics' choice and people's choice. Nominees are selected solely by the jury, which is comprised of 80 press outlets, including Eurogamer, IGN, and Polygon. Kotaku does not participate because the timing doesn't work for us. That's weird. Once the nominees are revealed, the jury and viewers both vote on the award. when with the fan voting counting for 10%. That's how it works. And then Kotaku goes on to talk about Hideo Kojima being on the advisory board. And the advisory board, it says it's less clear what the advisory board does. But it's clear that the board plays no part in the voting process or jury selection. It says it does help guide and advance the mission of the Game Awards. When asked about the board's specific duties, Jeff Keighley said, functionally, this typically includes a few in-person meetings every year to solicit general feedback on the show's direction. These are broad strokes discussions. That's about what I would expect it to be. But Hideo Kojima is on the board, which may cause some people to go, aha! J'accuse, right? Except there's a huge but here as well. According to this exact same article, who else is on the show's advisory board? Nintendo President Doug Bowser, Activision President Rob Kostich, Microsoft EVP Phil Spencer. So there's a lot of heavy hitters on this board. Some would say much heavier hitters than Hideo Kojima, who is not part of Sony. He's an independent video game designer who is no longer, joined at the hip with something like Konami. I think PlayStation's quite happy with their association with him, but I think it's easy to see how somebody like a Doug Bowser or a Phil Spencer would have a lot more schlep than Kojima regarding which games get put on the short list. And the answer is really simple, why? Hideo Kojima, as a game maker, can put out a game every 3 to 5 years. Although he did this one super fast. I don't think he's going to do it again this quickly. He doesn't need to. But, even this was 12 months, 18 months, something like that. It was just super quick. But still, that output dwarfs in comparison to how many games Activision, Nintendo, and Xbox all put out every year, right? They're much bigger players in terms of ad revenue and in terms of, things like that. How much money could be flowing in to the Game Awards, keeping these much bigger players happy. I am more concerned about that in terms of influence than, a personal friendship. Especially with a guy like Jeff Keighley, who is top-notch shill. Okay, I say this with respect. I wish I had more money more ability to bring in the money that this guy does. Yes, a lot of people don't respect him because of the Dorito Pope thing. But when you got money, you really don't care about respect the same way. Trust me, I've seen how people who have money behave. The guy has managed to build this awards. That's something. That doesn't just happen because of shamelessness. He obviously works very hard and is good at bringing people together. And as much as I find the corporateness of the stuff he's involved with personally distasteful, I gotta give him credit for building this stuff. That kind of corporate connections are part of the beast, and it's possible that the problem is as much mine as his. Maybe he should have a little less shameless corporatism, but perhaps I should have a bit more. I'd probably be doing better financially. Everybody has to make that decision for themselves. There is nothing inherently wrong with corporate money as long as you're upfront about it. And you can't be more upfront than Jeff Keighley about being bought and paid for by corporate sponsorships. Dorito Pope. So to me, these relationships with game companies that have the ability to bring a lot of money into these awards are more concerning to me on an ongoing basis than a personal friendship with Hideo Kojima. That's my take on it. But should the host of a show being in a game disqualify the game? Well, that means Aisha Tyler can't do any more stuff anymore because she was in Watch Dogs, right? Watch Dogs, the original Watch Dogs 2, one of those games. She's got a cameo, very similar to Jeff Keighley's stuff in Death Stranding. She's just a bit player. Does that mean that you couldn't get Elias Toufexis, who's done a ton of work for Ubisoft, to host any video game events because, he might be influencing? We're like, no, that's silly, right? It's because Keighley produces the show and hosts the show that he has this appearance of schlep. And this is why it's so important to disclose things. And this is where I'm going with this. I think the Game Awards should be rewarded for their transparency because that's what we want more of. I think it's really, really rich that Kotaku would be arguing appearance of impropriety on the Game Awards, where the Game Awards has disclosed their process in advance very openly. It's there for everybody to see. There's no reason not to believe them because it's been up there from the start. Jeff Keighley, I think because he likes that corporate money so much, has taken great lengths to make sure he's not involved. So he can go out there and shill to his little heart's content, and it doesn't affect the vote. The vote is done by 80 media outlets, meaning no single one has a huge amount of influence, as long as they're all treated equal. There's unanswered questions here, but overall, this is a pretty good structure. And instead of coming down on him for having friends, which, hate to break it to you guys, everybody in those roles do. That's how you get stuff done. Because how do you get stuff done before you have money? You get your friends to help you. Jeff Keighley has been open about his friendships. The people I worry about are the people who aren't open about their friendships, because that's the lubricant for this business. We're not mature enough as an industry for it not to be. I'd like it to come eventually, but we're not there. So Jeff Keighley's relationships are out there where we can see them. People who vote on the Game Awards can make their choices based on that. Kotaku's had some problems in the past about not disclosing relationships. There's a reason the subreddit, feel how you want about it, is called Kotaku in Action. So is there some Dunning-Kruger going on here? Is Kotaku in Action so enabled to spot actual appearance of impropriety that they think there's lingering appearance of impropriety here when, from what I can see, Jeff Keighley welcomed, he said, I respect and appreciate the concern. Here's the way we do things. He threw open the doors. He answered the questions. He's like, I am not involved. This seems fine to me. I'm not going to begrudge a guy for having friends. I'm not going to begrudge him for having corporate relationships that get his award show paid for. I'm also not going to begrudge his trailers and stuff like that, because I think we need more competition in terms of where people come to get game news. And I would rather see game trailers at something like the Game Awards as opposed to some of these trade shows, which talk about cash grabs. Oh, God. So I think more competition is good. I really don't see a lingering problem here. When I first heard about this, I'm like, okay, that looks bad. And then I read about how the awards work, and it's like, I don't have a problem with this anymore. Now, everybody has to make up their minds themselves. And I'm sure that if this continues to stink bad enough, Keighley will change his process because he likes money. I don't think this Kotaku article is fair, insisting that there are lingering questions. He answered the questions. So where's the actual appearance of impropriety anymore with all the facts? I don't see it. You can't just go, well, it looked bad at first and then more information came to light, but it looked bad at first, so it still looks bad. We can't do that. And my long-term concern is we want game companies working together to get high quality content for fans of these games to express their fandom. We need cheerleading events. We desperately need outreach that makes more positive the gaming's public face and promotes a positive look at video games. We're all sort of cheering everything on instead of fighting. That doesn't mean I don't think people should raise criticisms. I think they just have to be fair criticisms, and when they're answered, reward the transparency. And that's what I hope happens here. I hope that this doesn't just turn into another one of these clusterfucks that gaming is so known for, because every time something like that happens, that big money, the Nintendos, the Activisions, the Xboxes of the world, they back away. They want nothing to do with fighting. It just hurts everybody involved, even people who did nothing wrong, because somebody accused them. We can't live in a world where an accusation is enough to bring somebody down, even if they present evidence, lending strong credence to their innocence or proving their innocence. We can't live in a world like that. It's very important to hold these companies accountable. It's also very important to praise them when they do the right thing. And as much as, like I said, on style, I'm made uncomfortable by the gross commercialism and corporatism of the Game Awards. I can't see anything wrong here. I just can't. Maybe you can respectfully tell me if you think I'm missing something, but as it stands, this really seems like Kotaku is trying to perpetuate a false scandal for clicks, which they do have a reputation for doing. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to leave it there. Of course, now I have to do some shilling of my own. Patreon. Yeah, help support this channel, become a monthly patron because I don't have big corporate sponsorships. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching.